everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Nena and I'm so glad you're here today, especially if you clicked on this video because you feel like something inside of you is telling you that maybe you're on the verge of a downward spiral, or you think that you might already be in one. Now on this channel, I have been incredibly transparent about the many times in my life that I have experienced great overwhelm and anxiety. And if there is one thing that I have learned, it's that self-awareness can save us a whole lot of suffering. Because when we can really know ourselves and when we can learn to spot our personal warning signs before things get out of control, oftentimes we can completely reverse how we are feeling instead of things getting progressively worse. So today we're going to talk about what some of those warning signs are, some simple but effective strategies to stop a downward spiral and bring balance back to our life. And I'll also share with you the method that I personally use that has made a dramatic difference in my own life. And just a reminder that this video is not meant to substitute treatment from a mental health professional and is for educational purposes only. And with that being said, let's get straight into it. So firstly, what do we really mean when we say a downward spiral? Now, this can mean very different things to different people, but basically it's when we start to feel that our mental health is declining and we begin to experience a lot more negative emotions. In a nutshell, we just kind of feel like things are off. We can have this new sense of hopelessness or frustration or dissatisfaction with life. We can feel like life is a lot harder, or that little things bother us a lot more, or we just feel like in general life is a lot more overwhelming. Now, if we're not paying attention to our body and our thoughts and our feelings on a regular basis, it can seem like the intense negative emotions that come along with a downward spiral are really coming out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden we feel emotionally exhausted or anxious or even on the verge of depression. But in reality, once it's gotten to this point, the downward spiral really has been creeping up on us for quite some time. We've just failed to recognize it, or we've been trying to push away negative emotions or not think about negative situations. But unfortunately, once we get to the point of actual burnout and overwhelm, it can be a lot harder to pull ourselves out because we've been unknowingly allowing the situation to intensify. And I think it can be a lot harder to spot when there doesn't seem to be an obvious cause, when it doesn't really feel like anything dramatic is going on. But a lot of times it's simply many things adding up. Little things can bother us as much as big things, especially if there are a lot of them. And we have to realize that we really kind of live in two worlds at the same time. We have our outside world, but we also have our inside world. And just because things look okay to others on the outside, it does not mean that we're not swimming in negative thoughts and emotions on the inside. So I want to quickly talk about some of the warning signs for a downward spiral, but please keep in mind that some of these things you may experience from time to time anyway. So what we're really looking for are increases in these types of thoughts and behaviors or changes, especially if you feel like several of these are ringing a bell for you right now. Signs can include having difficulty focusing, experiencing anxiety, feeling hopeless, feeling overwhelmed or stressed out, feeling irritable or easily bothered, having sleep issues, experiencing a loss of interest in things you normally enjoy, feeling chronically tired or fatigued, neglecting self-care activities, ruminating, lacking motivation, or engaging in negative self-talk. And please know that even though these are common signs, warning signs of a downward spiral are certainly not limited to this list. And that's why it's so important that we become self-aware and that we take note of any changes to our thoughts, feelings, or behavior. And this is something that we really want to start doing on a regular basis, not just when we are feeling like things are a little bit off, because again, it's much easier to reverse a negative situation when we catch it early. But what do we do if we are checking in with ourselves and it really does seem like we are heading into this downward spiral? Well, the second we notice this, we want to immediately start trying to get to the bottom of it. We want to try to identify any potential issues or stressors that are contributing to this. So really the first part of the process is getting to the root of the actual problem. And sometimes these things are very obvious, but other times we really have to dig deep because there are a whole bunch of different things that can cause us to experience a downward spiral. Sometimes we can get triggered by things that actually happened a long time ago that we haven't healed. Sometimes we can notice that we haven't been feeding our soul, that we haven't been doing anything that we enjoy or that make ourselves happy. Maybe we've been under chronic stress for too long, or maybe there are just a lot of situations in our life that are completely overwhelming or seem to be less than ideal. But once we can figure out exactly why we are feeling this way, we can begin to come up with solutions. So to do this, we have to start with introspection. And I always think it is incredibly helpful to actually write things out. And I want to go ahead and share with you my personal way of doing this, the strategy that I have found to be the most helpful when I am not feeling happy, when I'm really feeling like I'm starting to slip into this downward spiral, but I can't really figure out why. So this is a great method to use when you are struggling to get to the bottom of it all. Now we're actually going to be making two lists, but we're going to start by making a list of everything that's bothering us, things that aren't going our way, things that we have been thinking about or ruminating over or have been triggering us, anything that could potentially be feeding into a downward spiral, no matter how small. And it should include everything from people, places, situations, thoughts, feelings, even physical symptoms, even fears of the future, anything that you can think of. And remember, absolutely no one is going to see this list, so just make sure that everything gets purged onto the page. And believe it or not, even just this part of the process can be healing and validating because we have this natural tendency to try to hold everything in. Maybe we think that we're being strong, or maybe we don't think that we have the time or energy to face these things. But when we continuously ignore them or push them away, they just fester. They get louder and louder until we finally address them. And we can't really address them until we know what they are. So it's very important that we do get these things all out on the page. And once you have really searched your heart and taken plenty of time with this list, you want to go ahead and look it over and read what it says. What things are immediately calling out to you? What things bother you just by reading them? Where are the triggers? Those are the things that are likely at the core of the issue for you right now. So you want to underline them, you want to circle them, you want to take note of them in some way, because this is probably at the heart of what you are experiencing. But before we start to problem solve, we're actually going to sit down and make one more list. But this time it's going to be the positive list. It's going to be a list of all the things that make us happy, that we know if we include in our life, we're going to feel a lot better. So these are the things that make our life feel meaningful and fulfilling, the things that are actually important to us, or the things that are interesting to us, or that inspire us, or make us feel a sense of serenity or peace or joy, or make us feel excited about the future. So for example, it might include travel or adventure or meditating or getting outside, exercising, eating well, spending time alone, or spending time with friends and family or children or pets, or creating art. All the things that you know make you happy and make your life seem better when you are actually including them. And when you're done, I want you to take a good look at that list and be honest with yourself. How many of these things are you actually taking time for in your life? Now, it doesn't matter why you're not doing them or why you don't feel like you have time or energy for them. Just take note. And I'm going to take a wild guess that that list you have of all the things that are bothering you and stressing you out right now is a lot longer than the list of things that you actually enjoy, that make you happy, that you are including in your life right now. You may even find when you look at this list that you are not doing any of the things that make you happy. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but this certainly happens happens to me sometimes, where I get really busy with a life situation or with something for work, and I feel like I simply don't have any time or energy for these things, so I don't prioritize them and none of them actually happen. And I start to feel myself getting into this downward spiral because there is nothing that is really bringing me up. And if you are the type of person that falls prey to this type of thinking that you don't have time, I want you to know that most of the time this really is not true. Yes, we may have a lot less time than we usually have. However, if we prioritize and we shift things around, usually we can find some time to include the things that we enjoy, because we probably have time for a lot of the habitual activities that don't serve our life in any way, like scrolling on our phone or watching television. So certainly, if we really put our mind to it, we could find some time for these activities that actually do make us happy. A downward spiral in a lot of cases often just boils down to our life becoming completely unbalanced, having a lot more things on the negative side than on the positive side. And we're strong creatures. Humans are very, very strong, and we can actually get through a lot of negative situations. However, we have to mitigate them, and we also have to balance them out with positive situations. And yes, perspective and attitude really do make a difference and can certainly help us to feel better about certain situations. However, for most people to truly pull ourselves out of a downward spiral, we have to do two things. We need to reduce the amount of triggers and stressors in our life, and we need to increase the amount of intentional activities that we do to take care of ourselves and to enrich our lives. So let's start with how to improve on the negative. Now, we may find that in our life there are certain stressors or situations or obligations that we can't avoid completely, but some we can, and others we can greatly improve upon, especially if we are innovative and creative. So for example, if it's work that's bringing us down, what little changes can we make to improve the day or to bring a little bit more fun in, whether it just be eating lunch outside or wearing something that makes us feel a little bit better. Believe it or not, even the smallest of changes can help us to start to create an upward spiral. So what I want you to do is to sit down and brainstorm at least one solution or one improvement that could be made, whether it's mentally or physically, for every single thing on your negative list. And if there is anything that you can outright cut out right now or get help with or delegate, that could also be very beneficial. And when you start to actually implement these changes, as small as they may be, you are going to be so surprised at how empowered you feel, because you will see firsthand that we actually have a lot more control over our lives and our feelings than we think we do. But even after we do all of these things, we may find that we don't feel inspired or happy again until we bring our life back into balance by bringing the things that we do enjoy back into our life. So what I want you to do is to get out that positive list one more time and commit to doing at least a few of the things that truly make you happy. And without fail, self-care really needs to be a priority right now. So we have to make sure that those things make the cut. We have to make sure that we are eating well and sleeping and exercising, and that you are doing all the things that you personally would do for self-care. Maybe that would be journaling or meditating, whatever it is for you. But these are things that you really need to not neglect if you want to bring your life back into balance. We also have to remember that fun is a priority, or it needs to be. So please schedule some time for fun. Go to see your friends, go to see a movie, go outside and take a walk, whatever it means for you to enjoy life and embrace life and feel inspired again. These are the things that, again, help to nurture us and bring that sense of balance that we so desperately need back into our life. And maybe we can't fit in absolutely everything from our happy list right now into our life, but give yourself some things to look forward to in the future. Have some things to do short term and long term, because you will find also that when you're more relaxed, when you're happy and fulfilled, you are able to handle negative situations. Sometimes you can even laugh about them because we are having that balance between negative and positive. But if you let these negative things just continue to stack up without taking care of yourself and enriching your own life, that chance of the negative spiral is always going to be there. Please note also that if this is overwhelming, you do not have to go through this alone. You can certainly seek out the help and support of a licensed mental health therapist who would be more than happy to help you bring balance back into your life and to help you work through this difficult time. We always have to remember that our mental health is every bit as important as our physical health, and gaining a sense of self-awareness and learning to spot these signs can save us so much suffering. So I truly hope that today's video was helpful and insightful. If it was, please like it, share it, and definitely become a subscriber if you aren't one already. I would absolutely love it if you stayed connected. I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I hope the rest of your day is extraordinary.